As I said, I'd really like to not kill her. This, she's like by far one of the nicest
I heard Isla's sister is some hardcore mercenary.
characters
I
there
wouldn't
is.
get on her bad side.
You know, for a pirate. Nice old search around.
We call you sister.
So tell us about Jasper Cricks's version of the Crimson Scar.
They're just bait.
All I can tell you is that under my guidance, the Crimson Scar became more influential than every other syndicate combined. Here I was, 22 years old, and I had power, people that followed my orders, and an endless stream of credits. Gale, I have to tell you, I was having the time of my life.
So you'd consider extortion, robbery, burglary, kidnapping, assault, and murder to be
I hope you
positive
brought me
life
something
influences?
interesting.
No. I'd consider them as just means to an end. Those so-called crimes were merely stepping stones until I had enough wealth to buy the Crimson Scar a few spacecraft.
Yes, let's talk about that. It appears
You're still
you weren't
standing.
satisfied
Can't do
with
that.
terrorizing New Atlantis alone.
Oh, I've never stopped reaching, Gale. The amount of money we were making in New Atlantis was decent, but the really big scores were in space and the cargo ships. We're talking millions of credits, maybe more. Who the hell could count it all?
Most people assume this is when the UC decided to actively set up a task force to pursue the Crimson Scar.
That's correct. Those idiots in charge of the United Colonies were clearly embarrassed that they had allowed the Crimson Scar to make the jump into space. They sent ships after us. Lots of ships. I almost think that they enjoy
Been
starting
hearing some
wars.
stuff about the Mantis being back.
Perhaps this
If I
was the
ever
first
find
time
that
you had
bastard,
finally
the
reached
things I do
too
to
far.
them.
You could say that. I count my time running the Crimson Scar as a learning experience. I wouldn't say I reached too far. I'd say I reached too fast. Didn't cover all my bases. Made some stupid mistakes. One thing's for certain, though. When I was finally arrested and thrown into the lock, I had plenty to think about.
Where did your stellar rise to infamy begin?
In the streets of New Atlantis. No parents, no godparents. Just a homeless punk kid robbing whoever he could for the credits.
So there I am.
Were these violent crimes?
Security on
Murders?
my tail. My grab
I'm a bit
They may
offended
not have
you even
official
asked that
security
question, Gale. Sure, a few people here and there walked away with injuries, but I'm not some kind of butcher.
That doesn't sound as heartless as your
A
reputation
lot of us
would
in the
imply.
fleet came out.
Well, like I said, I was just a kid.
Were you ever caught by the authorities in New Atlantis?
Oh, dozens of times. But I'd just give them a fake name, or they just slap me on the wrist and send me on my way.
As long as
They
you put the
obviously
fleet
didn't think
first,
that I'd amount to
you won't have
anything,
any
and
problems.
didn't want to waste their time with rehabilitation.
What changed that? Was it the robbery in 2218?
I need something
2218. Oh, yeah. The Galbank archives. Very good, Gale. See, you've done your research. That would be when I rounded up a few of my buddies and we knocked the place over. Made off with a ton of credits. My first big score.
Is that where the Crimson Scar decided to bring you into their ranks?
That's right. They brought me in, taught me the ropes, and I did crimes for them for 5 years. Till I decided I wanted more. I got rid of their leader, put myself in his place, and started running the show. I've been the one in charge ever since.
Was it absolutely necessary to cut his throat and leave the body on a public street in the well?
On the street, reputation is everything. I wanted everyone in the city to know that Jasper Cricks was taking over. I think they got the message.
I'm currently just trying to search for history of this place. Because I'm guessing that soon the UC are going to come destroy it.
Tell us what the future holds for the Crimson Fleet.
Changes are coming, Gale. Huge changes. Crimson Fleet will soon be a much bigger player in this little game between the members of the settled systems.
Yeah, I've got 40k at the moment.
Well, let's just say that I'm on the brink of a score so large, it makes everything else pale in comparison. Beyond that, you'll just have to wait and see.
If you aren't willing to discuss the details, why grant SSNN this interview?
Simple. I refuse to allow the UC to spin or bury the story, making it sound like they're in complete control of the situation. I'm gonna tell you right now, they aren't.
Why does the Crimson Fleet need to make this mysterious move that you're being so evasive about?
I know SysDef instructed you to draw this meeting out as long as possible. So let me sum this up. I intend to make sure that the Crimson Fleet becomes the United Colony's worst nightmare. And nothing, I mean nothing in this universe, will stop me from achieving that goal.
There are those that would disagree with you and claim this interview is grandstanding, or worse, a recruitment tool. After all, SSNN reaches every corner of the settled systems, and your aspirations could inspire the directionless to turn to the fleet.
You and the sheep that listen to your garbage can believe whatever the hell you want. If you were so worried about what I had to say, you wouldn't have allowed yourself to be brought here.
Tell us about your arrest.
Oh, my arrest was spectacular. Definitely one for the record books. UC security sent an armada after our little fleet of ships and picked us off one by one until the remainder of us made it to the wheel.
For a listener's benefit, that was the star station in orbit around Voli that you destroyed just before your arrest, correct?
You see, that's what they'd have you believe, but the truth is much less sinister. There was a firefight on the wheel when they tried to bring us in. We holed up, but UC security unleashed hell. The damage they caused was catastrophic. We only surrendered so we wouldn't die when the station exploded.
Well, the UC says you set demolition charges to try and cover your tracks and make your escape.
That's their story. You'll have to go with your gut on what you think really happened. Anyway, they took us in and tossed us into the lock. That lovely resort they opened on Suvorov.
And you were imprisoned there for how long?
Well, it was supposed to be for life, Gale. But I ended up serving 2 years before I decided I'd had enough.
Is there any particular reason that you started the riots that eventually led to the worst prison break in United Colony's history?
Yes. I'm quite proud of that, actually. I honestly didn't think it would go as well as it did. As for the reason, well, it's simple. The UC were treating us like animals. The conditions in the lock were ridiculously bad and no one cared. That's why they stuck us on that ice ball in the first place. Out of sight, out of mind.
Your escape caused the deaths of many that were stationed at the lock. Some would brand that as a bit dismissive for what you're describing as a protest. If you were simply advocating for your fellow inmates, why didn't you just go through the proper channels?
And what the hell was I supposed to do? Send a strongly worded letter to my duly appointed representative? Wake up. The UC only responds to actions, not words. In my mind, there was no other choice. You know what? Let's move past my time at the lock so we can get to the point of this goddamned interview.
You know, the people who are saying that the story, there's no story in this game, obviously have not actually paid attention. Oh, that's worth a lot of it, let's say. That's worth a lot. They always complain. Exactly.
Are you looking to start something? Because I'll finish it.
Just play the game and enjoy it. If you don't, yeah.
Hey, be careful not to point that thing at me.
Is Samina seeing anyone right now? The patients, I mean. I got a sore hip. If you need credits, hit up the mission boards at the core.
Don't you have somewhere to be?
No.
Always ask for a bigger cut. It's all about making those credits.
Heading out. Hey,
Weapons, ammo, mods, whatever you need.
Ask Jazz about any ship upgrades. Nothing worse than a pirate ship with no personality.
I used to work for a megacorp. Wore a monkey suit and everything. Seems like a different time.
Oh yeah, there might be something at the bar.
Music in the Nova will get you in the mood for a job.
this is the life, right?
It's also assuming I've not got any, what are they called? SSN interview. No, haven't.
Every captain here's under strike.
Certainly. Let's talk about something else. How did the Crimson Scar become the Crimson Fleet?
What did they?
After I busted out of the lock, I decided to take things to the next level. I had the key, a few UC ships, and a couple dozen ex-cons at my side. But I needed more, so I sent out the call. Once word got around, it didn't take long for freelance pirates from every corner of the settled systems to show up.
And this is how the Crimson Fleet was born.
Exactly. The key became our base of operations. We spent months reinforcing our position there, making it nearly impossible to approach.
If you got any spare
What was the
creds, you
UC's
just need to
response to the
unload some
situation?
junk, head to the depot.
First of all, UC Security gave up and handed the reins over to the big guns, the UC Navy.
There are UC bureaucrats that must be
The Navy
furious
in
that
turn
this
sent
station has
ships to
become
attack
what
the
it is
key.
today.
I'd say
You can
there
get work
have
from the
been
boards near the Reckoner's
3
Grave.
major attacks over the last few years. And as you can tell by the fact we're having this interview, all the attacks were embarrassing failures.
Do you feel these embarrassing failures led them to form UC System?
Absolutely. They've clearly given up and decided to shove the responsibility onto a separate division. That way, in the public eye, the UC Navy can move forward, proud and strong, while UC SysDef continually takes all the blame. It's all about PR spin for them, Gale. That's how the UC operates. Kinda disgusting, don't you think?
Sounds a bit like you're trying to deflect attention off the atrocities the Crimson Fleet commits on a daily basis.
Atrocities, huh? How about fighting the Freestar Collective over a bunch of rocks hanging in space? How about thousands of people dying while a bunch of pencil-pushing bastards sit in a cushy office and draw lines on a star map? Maybe the United Colonies should stop the bullshit and take a hard look in the mirror to see who the monsters really are.
He's not wrong. He's not right either, but he's not
Hello,
wrong.
everyone. I'm Gail Dunnigan of SSNN, and this is Galactalk.
UC will never crush the fleet.
My guest tonight is one of the most notorious criminals in the settled systems. His ruthlessness and desire for wealth has landed him squarely at the top of the wanted list for every major law enforcement agency in the galaxy. I am, of course, speaking of the self-appointed leader of the Crimson Fleet himself, Jasper Crix. Good evening, Mr. Crix.
Good evening, Gale.
12 ships and
Thank you
got 'em
for
ground state.
accepting
12.
my invitation.
Talent, if you ask me.
Yes, well,
heck did you
being
do?
blindfolded and then Graf jumped to what appears to be an abandoned mining facility isn't exactly what I call an invitation.
Believe that?
Well, I'm sure you're not surprised that your
You're lucky I
request for an
didn't cut you
interview
off
would
at the
come with
knees.
some very specific conditions.
I don't trust shielding.
Frankly, I was a bit surprised to receive any type of response at all. Would you mind telling
I have had enough dealings with the Crimson Fleet to know that we should both be very, very aware of our surroundings right now.
The fleet protects.
Because there comes a time in every
Surround,
pirate's life
but you're
where
turning
they have
against
to make an extremely important decision. Do they take a leap and become one of the most legendary pirates in history? Or do they simply sputter on,
Smuggling needs
subsisting
a
on
real
freighters
job
and
any
deep
day.
space privateers?
Man, I
So
get
are we to assume that you are taking the lead? That Jasper Crix is moving on to bigger and better things in his life?
Shut up. Or
That's
die.
spot on, Gale.
Choice.
That's exactly why you're here.
Interesting. Well then, would you mind sharing with us exactly what your particular leap entails?
In due time. There's no rush. In fact, I'd say we have at least 12 hours before the authorities trace this broadcast. Plenty of time to discuss whatever you like.
Oh, All right then. Perhaps the best place to start this interview would be at the beginning of your career.
Please, proceed.
It was some kind of multi-level marketing cult.
Is something amiss?
Contacts and neon just to get their rook in the
A good
door.
team always shares the load.
Right there.
Very good.
Get caught up in some pyramid
Let me just ask you one final question before we wrap up.
Fine. Go ahead.
When is enough going to be enough? How many credits does Jasper Cricks need until he's satisfied?
I should have expected you'd ask such a stupid question. How the hell could you ever understand? You with your fancy education and your sheltered upbringing and your cushy media job?
Oh, and it's just gone from slightly likable to I hope he's still alive so I can kill him.
Me, I came from nothing. Everything I own, I've literally drawn blood to gain.
There's no need to get personal. I'm simply trying to state the facts so that our listeners can make judgments of their own.
Lady, I got news for you. Half of your listeners think I'm a hero. The other half are scared out of their goddamn minds, and they should be.
Perhaps we should talk about something else.
No, that's it. We're done. Can you guys get her the hell out of here? Make sure she takes all this sound equipment with her.
Well, that's it then. Thank you for your...
Actually, before you go, Gail, there's one more thing I would like to say.
Yes, of course. What is it?
When you broadcast this interview on SSNN, I want you to remember that I'll be listening. If you edit even one word or manipulate my voice to change anything I've said, I will hunt you down and kill you in front of everyone. Do you understand?
I understand. You have my word.
The guy in the prison wanted history on this place.
We're loose. Nice jump. We're right on target.
We're docked.
The fleet call us sharks. They know what happens. If you ask me, the brig's too good for these worthless thugs.
Heard you had to board the Siren of the Stars. I was on there once, for a tribute to my ancestor. I never felt more out of place. So it's true. All my life I've been led to believe the guards on the lock were heroes. But there was part of me that always doubted the story. Even as a child learning about the history from the slates. Thank you for bringing me this. I get that Crix is about as unreliable a witness as they come, but I believe him. Because it isn't just any history. It's my family's. If you open up a history slate and look up the name Garo Petrosian, you'll find a hero decorated in medals. Medals he earned for escaping the riots on Suvorov. for helping his fellow guards escape the riots. And maybe that part is true, but it conveniently skips everything that happened before that point.
Yep.
No one ever asks what prompted the riots. It was just criminals being criminals, and that was explanation enough. It's been almost a century, so that doesn't surprise me. But in some circles, it carries weight. The thing is, even as my family rode the coattails of our name, I always felt like something wasn't right about the story. And it always came back to that day in the yard, playing games with my brother. It's the only memory I have of my great-grandfather that sticks. It was about a week before he passed. Me and my brother had the house to ourselves, and were playing a game we called Prisoner's Run. It was a simple game. We drew a line in the dirt, and the object was for the guard to keep the prisoner from crossing it. But on that day, my brother came to the yard with an added surprise. He found a chest in the attic, filled with goodies. A baton, a uniform, and a medal to serve as prize for the winner. Indeed, but as boys, we didn't connect the dots. After all, why would something so precious be stuffed in the attic? But when our family returned, I knew something was wrong. My great-grandfather didn't say a word, but behind his eyes I could see it. The shame. No one said anything to either of us. But the next day, the uniform and the medal were gone. At the time, I never understood why he kept those things buried in the attic. Now, it all seems so clear.
He could have still been a hero.
Not the bad man, but a hero? Hard to say. Either way, thanks for talking this through with me. I don't know if I'll ever know what really happened on Suvorov, but at least now, I have something beyond the family myth.
Where's my prisoner? Oh, there.
Another night at the Hotel Sis Def. Please enjoy your stay. Be careful around the fleet. They talk about family, but it's just a bunch of crap.
How's the pirating business? Yeah, it was. And you can probably guess what project it was for. Yeah, I thought you might. I heard the fleet sent you up there for some more pirate work. Even more impressive, you managed to do it without taking any lives. Maybe I misjudged you. That's more than I can say for myself, given the history of Project Archangel. The official word is I was transferred back to SysDef because the need was great. The reality is I was kicked off the unit. I was so bored on that station, I spent all my time in the barracks drinking.
Do I have any news in the future, Captain? No, not yet. I've been paying attention to the local shelters.
One of the others had to cover for me. The engine caught fire right after takeoff. Pilot, crew, gone in a flash. Is that right? I guess
You
that
need
lets me
good
off the
timing
hook
and the
with
right
jailers,
cast, yeah.
But not with the judge upstairs. I appreciate what you're trying to do, though.
Exactly.
Give me some time to process it.
Vigilance is a state-of-the-art warship.
Need ones that don't like doing cables as well.
Excuse me.
All support ships have arrived, Commander.
Good. After we're done here, arrange a briefing. I want all of their CEOs over here as soon as possible.
Yes, sir.
Spending all this time with those pirates couldn't have been easy. Just hold out a little.
There you are. Where have you been?
I've been busy doing my job.
You mean your latest excursion to Neon? I've received the reports about your little foray into Genodyne. Last piece of the puzzle before you go after Crix's legacy. Which
Yes,
means it's
Queen.
time to put all the cards on the table and prepare to attack the key. Thanks to your evidence, we were finally able to convince them to task us the necessary
Probably
resources.
choose you at least, that's what
Before you
fun
jump to
is.
Bannock 4,
Or the
I
ones
need
that
to
came
make
to me
one
were stuff
thing
for Coco.
abundantly clear.
He came up to
The
my
credits
nephew
from
when
that
he got
Galbank
Coco for me.
transport cannot reach
Aww.
the fleet. You have to bring them here at all costs. If Delgado gains access to those resources, we might be touching off a battle we can't possibly win.
We've been monitoring the Crimson Fleet's comm chatter in the Crick system. They're gathering allies by making promises based on your success.
As much as I hate to admit it, UC SysDef won't stand a chance. The fleet will become stronger and more unified than ever.
You cannot help but admire their commitment to their mission.
The only admiration I hold for the Crimson Fleet is the fact that they aren't going to be a problem for much longer.
I'm not gonna let you
You're not
down.
doing it for me. You're doing it for the security of the settlement
No,
systems.
no. I'm doing it for you.
I guess this is it. Do whatever prep you need to
Pardon
avoid
me.
vigilance, and then head out to Bannock 4. When you return here with Crix's legacy, we'll begin the attack. Good luck.
What will happen to the
During
money?
the end of the Narian War, the money was destined to bolster the Freestar Collective's coffers.
I'll
Even
probably
though we
listen
were
to
rivals
him.
at the time,
Lol.
and I suppose we still are to some extent, the credit still rightfully belong to their people. After the money is turned over to Mast, I'm certain arrangements will be made to return the money to the proper authorities in Aquila City. The evidence you've been bringing to Lieutenant Toft has been instrumental in convincing the brass at Mast to greenlight the attack. They've sent us support ships, extra troops, weapons, all on account of your role in the operation.
Let's see, there's nice stuff for me to loot.
If it
Lol.
wasn't for you, this operation would be at a standstill. Our directive is simple. As the chief source of power, stay focused and be careful out there.
I miss the sun on Genesis.
Looking for some last-minute advice?
Once I get time off, that's the
Well
first
done.
place I'm
Let's see what you found. Yeah, you're right. But there's no way this was a solo job. Shifting all those parts takes serious manpower. I'll send this to Mast so they can shake the tree a bit, see what falls out. Looks like Durand better start looking for parts somewhere else. Any other fragments? Benjamin Bayou, pride of the Freestar Collective. The authorities there have been trying to nail him for a long time. Bringing us proof that he's been manipulating Genodyne from the shadows is pretty tasty stuff. The FC will pay dearly for this. Good job. Have any more?
I don't want the Freestar Collective to pay dearly for it.
So Voss engineered a way to directly interface with the Key's mainframe? I knew he was a math genius, but didn't realize he was so tech-savvy. Well, we'll share this information with Galbank. Hopefully it'll help them shore up the security on their cryptocurrency. That it?
I have a horrible feeling I've done a lot of helping for the people who aren't necessarily
fine.
good.
I know there's more out there, so keep on it. Even as long ago as the Narian War, Galbank used an extremely potent level of encryption on their currency.
What time is it?
Unfortunately, the unlocked ciphers are lost to time. However, if you can bring us one of Galbank's old transfer modules, I know it would help. Don't worry, I'm sure some of the techs at Mast will be able to work with whatever you bring to reverse the encryption. Anything you can tell us would be helpful.
Well, governments.
Damn it. I was afraid of that. I'll warn our ships to use looser formations. Hopefully Durand isn't as clever as she thinks she is, or you can help us take the batteries down when the attack begins. Was that all? Yeah, I heard they even sent word to some of the contacts you met. They're writing an awful lot of checks they can't cover without Crix's legacy, but we'll be ready for them. Anything else? Okay, well, if anything else springs to mind before you leave, please let me know. This is your moment. I know you can do this.
Howdy. Docking seal released.
Ooh. Gonna have to play the jump game. And I hope I don't get attacked several times.
Don't you just love grab jobs?
Smooth jump. Nice work.
Oh, that's a very pretty planet. Is there anything on there? Hmm.
Another successful jump. No distance.
Whoa! What the hell?
If not, this ship will not survive. Nor will we.
You right?
Interference is intense here, but the conduction grid seems to be working. That appears to be the legacy. We have arrived.
Exactly. Beautiful and scary.
And you didn't even scratch the paint.
I don't know how. I'd also assume there'd have to be some sort of automated.
Warning, an emergency lockdown has been
There we go.
The damage done here certainly indicates. Kate, we are not the first to find this ship. Yes? Need to see what I'm carrying?
No, I need to dump some shit on you. Ooh.